everybody, welcome to a out of fucking home episode of the FiveMarks Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Mr. Martin115. For some reason to my right, joined by my lovely dance host.
It feels weird, we're in the same room.
I know, same room.
But anyway, I am Cameron, everybody. Welcome back for another week.
And we are being invaded this week. We are invaded by the Wrestling Fan Wrestling Show.
You fucking invaded us.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, yeah.
You showed up with a tank at our door.
Yeah.
The best invasion angle for 25 years.
Yeah.
We showed up with like DX, except we weren't knocking on the door. We actually smashed it down.
It was more like Shotzi, not DX.
Oh, God. We just rolled over Shane's leg. Well, lads, thank you for coming on to the show and thank you for letting us use your studio here.
No bothers at all. Thanks for having us.
So, where do you want to start with this one? Straight to Irish wrestling?
Yeah, so we're going to talk a lot about Irish wrestling, obviously, with yourselves. We covered WWE and AEW. You're a big fan of AEW.
Yes.
What a mark.
But look, we'll start with Irish wrestling. I suppose the most recent thing to happen in OTT was Scrapper Mania.
Yeah.
Which we were all at. I suppose, first off, what did you think of the show?
I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. I think it was the best Irish wrestling show that I've ever been at. Like, there has been some amazing moments at show. We've seen, like, Gunter and JD McDonough or Jordan Devlin.
Yeah.
Like, I was shit-faced at that. And I ended up ringside. I was up in the stalls and I ended up ringside for it. And, like, that was an amazing moment. Some of the matches that I've seen in the Tivoli, Matt Riddle versus Speedball Mike Bailey, was just another level. I seen the Viking Raiders there. I was there for Ted, the Father Ted special.
Yeah.
You know, it's some amazing stuff. But from bell to bell, I think that was the greatest Irish wrestling promotion and our wrestling show. And to see all the intertwining stories and the history of OTT in that 8-man tag, to see Justy, Joe Cabret, Angel Cruz, and Be Cool after years of storytelling, all previous either tag team partners or wannabe tag team partners in Joe Cabret's case, all combined together to create a beautiful moment. I was blown away by it.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it as well. I think one of the reasons I thought it could be the best OTT show is for as long as I've been watching OTT, so kind of pre-pandemic, pre-COVID, it had kind of reached this peak, and you're like, wow, how can they go any further? And it was so hot, and then obviously they had a slow kind of decline for a little bit, and they've been building, and this show is the first time that I was at a Scrapper Mania where it was not import orientated.
Yeah.
So it was just as good, and yet it was all about Irish wrestlers, which I think is a real accumulation of just all the hard work that's been going on.
Yeah, because like what happened with, say, you know, it'd be silly not to acknowledge like Speaking Out and the different wrestlers that are no longer with the promotion for good reason. But what they were able to do then was correct course with the School of Irish Wrestling there, and obviously Five Factory producing great talent as well. And you're seeing the likes of Josh on the card, you're seeing the Sem, you're seeing Renzo Rose. These are all original characters. Zarkov, seeing Fabulous Nikki, who was there at the start.
If people go back and look at Nikki 10 years ago to now, you'll seriously be shocked.
Like, I was seeing some stuff from Celtic Championship Wrestling, and the opening triple threat was Phil Boyd, Be Cool, and Fabulous Nikki, and completely different. 10 years ago, completely different to what they are. But for someone like Fabulous Nikki, who hasn't, for whatever reason, been on that many stadium shows, to see him get that entrance with, you know, Cora and with JB and with Josh, phenomenal. Like, I remember J.O.B., anyone remember him? John O'Brien? So he was a wrestler in the Tivoli, and him and Fabulous Nikki had a streak versus streak match in the Tivoli. But you see,
I was told about this.
None of them had... Both of them had lost all their matches, so someone had to win. Like, you know what I mean? To see him go from that to where he is, the shape that he's gotten himself in is just phenomenal. And then Sammy D, Be Cool, that story from the gymnastics has been going on for years. To see that is just, it's mind blowing to someone like myself that was around Irish wrestling back in 2008 in the gym halls and stuff. To see what that type of, you know, Limo. Fantastic. And then you have the history of the lads from the flats, and then you had Paddy come out, and then you had Session Martina, which was a shame she wasn't in a match. Yeah. But, you know, maybe you'd have to bring in an import over that, but I know that there's ladies training now that are going to be the next generation. It's just about getting people up and running. I know that you had someone previously on, Lana Banana, and she lamented that fact as well, and obviously it was felt. But I think we're at a really good stage as fans
Yeah.
to be consuming Irish wrestling.
100% agree. I want to get back into some of that stuff in a few minutes. But just speaking on Scrapper, and you mentioned there yourselves, like, Be Cool, and that story from 10 years, all coming up to Scrapper Mania, where he eventually beat Trent Seven for the world title. Like, being there and, like, seeing it from the last 10 years, it must have been, I suppose, pretty special to sit there and watch that moment come to...
Yeah, what a year. Like, and the Moxley stuff with him early in the year as well.
The Rumble.
The Rumble, exactly. It's all just this. It's just really, really good build. And kind of just a shame then, like, I wasn't at the Belfast show, maybe you guys were.
No, I've been to a Belfast jail. I wish I was.
But then just to read the following day, new champ. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, what happened?
I got the text as it happened, like, Barry just dropped the belt. I was like, what the fuck should mean Barry just dropped the fucking belt?
But you look at the Belfast show, you look at Keane Noonan going up against LJ Cleary, right? LJ Cleary, I don't mean this to sound weird, but he's almost like an import because he's international now.
Yeah.
Big Damo, he's almost like an import because he's international. They're homegrown Irish stars that are making such waves everywhere. And to see them go up against Luke Frehel, to see him go up against Keane Noonan, like, Luke Frehel's from Kilkenny. I went on demand just to watch that match, but then ended up obviously consuming the show. But just this, like, these are the next Jordans.
Yeah.
These are the next Lyras. These are the next people to Finns to make it absolutely big. And then to see someone like Justy, who maybe never got to extend internationally, to see him get his bow in, pretty much it was a continuing part of the main event.
Yeah. Even Foxy, like, you're given, it was like this big love fest for Irish homegrown talent, and the fans were just all over it. It's brilliant.
It was one of those shows, like, where we still had our couple of imports, like Speedball, Mike Bailey was there, obviously Danhausen.
Yeah. But they weren't the
Robbie
focus.
X.
But that was it. It was all about that main event, that 8-man tag, which all consisted of, I know Charlie Sterling might have been an English wrestler, but
I
it
love
all
Charlie
consisted.
Sterling.
He feels homegrown.
Brilliant.
That's it, like, you know, the kind of way
The
he's been in
fact that
OTT
Charlie
since day
Sterling
one.
is still around here and not signed somebody, like,
Travesty.
somewhere is
Crazy.
stupid. That man, pound for pound, I know he says it, is one of the best to go today. Like, honest to God. I know LJ put out a tweet yesterday because he was part of the Noah tour.
I seen it,
being
yeah.
like, someone needs to sign this guy, and it's true.
A lot of I don't want to do too much inside baseball stuff, but, like, a lot of people that you talk to, lockup is a big thing in wrestling. That's the way most matches start. But we take it for granted. A lot of wrestlers do take it for granted. They just use that as a way to get into different spots. But people have mentioned this to me consistently. Go watch Charlie Sterling, Adam Maxted. They lock up for almost 8 minutes. Like, the whole sequence is a lockup, and it was the most over thing on the show because of the intensity that the two lads are bringing to it. They're locking up. They're literally trying to get one over on each other. Because when you think about lockup, and this is explained to me recently, like, you're jockeying for position. You're trying to get them off balance. You're not just doing a collar and elbow. You're putting your hand around their neck and you're trying to get their elbow and you're trying to turn them almost like judo.
Yeah.
And
like old school Greco-Roman wrestling.
Yeah, and to see someone like Charlie Sterling, who has been in tag teams with, like, Zach Gibson and obviously the Draw and various different things, to see him even get about in, as I said, the main event. I would consider that the main event. It's just phenomenal what we have been able to grow up with.
You were like us, I'd say, wondering, why is the 8-man match not opening? What does this mean?
absolutely,
What's this mean? Although you called every surprise member on Be Cool's team.
I did. I was like, well, but that's because it made sense.
Yeah.
Like, I was looking up. Remember when Barry comes out, he goes, hey, oh, and he comes out and he goes, I need a big pop. He goes, Joe, start the music now. And you see hands popping up. I was like, that's not fucking Joker Brown.
The only one I wasn't sure on was actually Joe.
Same.
Because I was like, what, like with the story with Barry and Joe was, if you continue with this Raw stuff, I'm not helping you.
Yeah.
I'm not helping you this time. That's it. If Sam betrays you, screw you.
I did wonder that for a storyline purpose. I couldn't see that.
And the Rumble thing when he was actively trying to not make
Yeah, so I was like, how does that tie in? But it didn't really make a difference.
No.
Like, it still helped.
And like, you look at Joe at the end of the match, like, it was announced this is Joe Cabrera's last ever match. And then he walks out and lets Be Cool celebrate. And I was thinking, there's going to be a moment where we're all going to go, thank you, Joe.
No, he
He
said
didn't
no.
want it. He was the first out of the ring. And I was like, wow,
Maybe
that's
we
it.
need to open the anniversary show with a thank you, Joe.
Open it, but thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
Like, joke, like, as well, like, I was actually kind of sad we didn't get that because, like, there is the scene we have right now, there is none of that without Joker Bray. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, there was this before, that before. OTT, I believe, is one of the longest running ones here. that doesn't happen without Joe Cabray going over to America, learning from like so Dusty Rhodes and stuff, bringing it back here and be like, right, I'm going to open a school, I'm going to make a promotion, and we're going off the races.
But like,
And the production value.
That
and
whole
else.
event though, it doesn't happen without Joe. Doesn't happen without Paddy Morrow. Doesn't happen without Sean Maxer.
Yeah.
And the talent that we have doesn't, like, you look at the tag team match. You had Matthew Bullet Smith and Sean Maxer, right? Look at their gear. Look at how much they give a fuck about what they do, and look at the freshness with J Money, and they're coming out and they're putting on a concert, and they're Fight Factory guys. So that doesn't happen without Katie Harvey, Phil Boyd, and Justy, and the trainers down there. Like, people are doing tremendous work.
Yeah.
All over the place for us as fans to be able to consume.
We are
It's
spoiled
fucking
on this island now.
It is absolutely nuts.
And every time Joe puts on a scrapper, there's a huge risk that it won't sell. And that is a fucking... So you're putting on a stadium show on the, I suppose, the wing and a prayer or ring and a promise that it's going to pay off. And especially this time when it didn't have like the big names to draw it in.
Yeah.
So like you have to thank him for that as well, for just putting his hands in his pockets and taking the risk. And obviously get the reward.
When we did the Tivoli documentary, the last show in the Tivoli, and I was talking to Joe, he had put up a tweet, and I asked him about WrestleRama. So I think the initial WrestleRama concept was 2 nights in the Tivoli, back to back. I think Chris Hero was on it, X-Pac was on it. Maybe was Abyss on it? Abyss was on it. I think Abyss
was on it. It was Abyss versus Logan Bryce.
Yeah, Logan
Put
Bryce.
to the
Another
table.
gentleman of a person, by the way, who deserves all his flowers, because in IWW, I think he was Kev Dunphy in IWW. Or brother Skelly. I think he's Brother Skelly. I remember riding on the dart with him out in Baldoyle. But he said that I had to get a loan to put on that show. You know, and the loan, I think he said 20,000 or something like that. Yeah. Like, that's quite substantial for a person just to put on a wrestling show.
Absolutely.
You know, maybe he made his money back. I don't know how much money you make. I don't know how much wrestlers get paid.
Some mark in the credit union going, absolutely, I'll give you this loan.
No, he got it off his ma.
Some mark of a ma going, absolutely.
But his mother was like, no, I believe in you. You know, and that's a really nice thing. So it doesn't happen without all these little things that lead up to that point where we're sitting in the stadium celebrating Be Cool, lift the title, and then coming up to a 10-year anniversary to see 2 of our homegrown stars who are excelling across the pond as the tag team champions coming back and giving back to the scene that they already helped create. That's amazing.
I was just going to say there, do you think there's a slight underappreciation from the Irish fans about what we get? Especially with like OTT and with Fight Factory and stuff. And the reason I'm at saying it is because if you look at last year with the anniversary show, obviously we finally got John Moxley. But there was obviously cancellations and AEW booked a house show that John Moxley ended up calling in for. But all the
cancelled and
everything, but all the like, I suppose, stuff that Irish fans were saying, giving out about this, that, and the other, even though it was nothing you could do.
Minority on Twitter, whatever the fuck.
But at the same time, right, you have to understand that these things are, like, if you're putting your product out there, you're putting it up there for criticism as well.
Yeah.
I'm not one to do that. I've had these mad discussions with you, is I don't really like putting negativity out. And I did a soccer podcast and it was just inherently negative. And I was like, I'm stopping this. I don't want to do it anymore. But people are perfectly entitled to do that because they're paying for a product. If they're aggrieved by it, it doesn't mean that they don't appreciate it. Like, I appreciate everything Metallica did, but I fucking think Saint Anger sucks balls. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the many brilliant moments that they've given me in my life. But I will say, it's not great.
There's definitely a minority, I think, that mightn't appreciate it. I think the vast majority of people can see it. You know, you just see it in the chants and the smiles on people's faces and the way the show ended and the pop when Judgment Day came up on the screen. But, you know,
and us as wrestling fans are critical.
There was a guy five people down from me at the last show, and he annoyed the fuck out of me. Kept shouting obnoxious stuff at the ring, you know, talking about wrestlers' weights and different things. I'm like, these are just fucking...
that,
I know you get that, but like, there's just something about wrestling fans that they'll always be fucking level. That's just scum embarrassment.
We had it at the Scrapper, David Starr and Jordan Devlin.
Craziest thing I've ever fucking heard.
This guy was being really anti-Semitic to David Starr, and this is obviously before what we found out David Starr was becoming. We had to turn around and be like, shut the fuck up. He was shouting horrible stuff, and you're like, man, why the fuck would you? There's a line. You can be critical.
This was a guy wearing a fucking, like, he looked like he was brought along with his mates, and he was really drunk. And he was probably not a true wrestling fan. And his idea of wrestling and being at an event is you can say whatever you want, and it's so funny.
I can pay to say this.
I can pay to say this. And like we were, you were like, I heard it first. And I was like, can you hear the fucking shit that he's saying? But like, I would be like standoffish about it while you were like, I'm gonna fucking punch him in the face. He keeps going.
The thing is, there's still a load of people out there at the moment. Like we went to a house show, won't say what company because the person straight was like, that was me. A house show and a show recently, and there's one guy who drinks far too much, and for some reason thinks it was actually Will, but he thinks like he gets involved in the shit. He starts like the lads are all around, he's roaring at them and he's fucking trying to pick them up, and they're like, fuck off,
don't touch me. I remember an IWW show. I was doing a show in Spring Hill in Kilkenny, so a good few of my friends came on. Harry Hireshaw, I was wrestling him, and Mandrake was there. And one of my friends, unbeknownst to me until after the show, like slapped Mandrake on the arse twice. And Mandrake came back and we're like, were they your friends? And I was like, yeah. He goes, he's from Northern Ireland. He goes, he has an unhealthy obsession with men's arses. I was like, I had to go say it to him. I was like, man, you can't fucking touch the guys. You know what I mean?
Because what will happen eventually is someone will take it too far and a wrestler will lash out.
Yeah.
And then everyone will go, oh, you can't be doing that. But like, you have to have that respect and that boundary.
Yeah.
That there is a boundary between the performers and the audience. And if you're at a theatre production and you're in the audience, you don't, if you're at a panto, for example, where you're actually allowed to kind of say stuff up, you still don't go up and fucking touch the performer or start shouting personal shit about them. Or
we were at we did a play recently, and someone's phone went off, and I was like, are they fucking? Did they answer their phone? Because I'm in the middle of my part, and I'm going, yeah, you fucking did it. And I'm in my head, I'm thinking, going, like, there's someone challenging me in terms of like the talk, but I have to keep on my track. Or people eating fucking crisp packets in the front row. And you're just like, man, what are you doing?
Look, I want to go back a little bit because I know I think you both watched IWW. I know you trained in IWW.
Yeah.
Going back to that time, I suppose, what was it like training back then? And I suppose, what was the Irish scene like back then?
Training. So what?
I'll take the training.
Yeah.
You can sit down straight. I got this.
So like my first thought of wrestling in Ireland were the tribute shows. Do you remember those? You wouldn't.
Yeah.
So basically, people would come around dressed as like Kane and
the
Rock.
I was at one before. So I was actually at one before in Ennis. I'll tell you this very quickly. And funnily enough, the actual Gangrel was at that show.
No way.
And like
all the others
were like, it was
wish
like
versions.
Shea Hardy or something like that. It was like Jeff Hardy. But like Gangrel then showed up at SmackDown like 2 weeks later, and I just couldn't believe it. Like,
and it's mad. Like when you see these start, Balls Mahoney was in Kilkenny, and I'll get into it now in a sec. But so Ulrich Williams from Wales, I think, were putting on these tribute shows, and I remember trying to get tickets for him, and I was ringing, me thinking like, this is a proper Ticketmaster event. I'm going to ring. I'm going to have to book my tickets. It's going to sell out. Couldn't get through. So I was like, it's probably sold out. And I never went. And I was devastated. And then I seen a clipping in a paper for Conor Hurley. And Conor Hurley is from Kilkenny, Mike Wall. And I interviewed him on our podcast before. Really interesting story. And he was going to be a Kilkenny wrestler wrestling in Kilkenny. I was like, no fucking way. So I show up in the Carlton Ballroom, got my tickets. There he is, wrestling in Kilkenny with my former karate teacher as his enforcer.
Carlton Ballroom for you guys is like across the road and up a laneway. It's
Tin
like,
Lizzie used to play in there and everything. Ceiling's really low, and fucking there's a guy from Kilkenny in Kilkenny gear wrestling in a wrestling ring. Holy shit. And then they come back and like there's Tracy Smothers, and there's Kid Cash, and there's this guy El Generico. Who the fuck is he?
Yeah.
And he's wrestling. He's wrestling in Kilkenny.
El Generico wrestled across the road in a tiny hall with a low ceiling.
Seamus wrestled in the Ormond Hotel. And I remember being more enamored by M-Dog20 because he was in the Backyard Wrestling video game, and I had the Backyard Wrestling DVDs, who went on to be Matt Cross, and he was in Lucha Underground. But Seamus was there, and I didn't give a fuck about Seamus. I was just talking to M-Dog20, and I was like, oh yeah, Josh Prohibition, your feud with Josh. And he was like, how the fuck do you know about that? And, so that was my first kind of thing. So when I seen Mike do it, Conor Hurley, I just was like, man, can I just travel up with you? So my first training session was up in Baldoyle. I don't think I travelled with him the first time. I got a bus from Kilkenny. It used to cost me €60 in total to get the bus from Kilkenny up to Dublin City Centre. I'd buy myself a Fighting Spirit magazine. in Dublin, in Easton's and Dublin City Centre. I'd get on the Dart, go out to Baldial, and walk to the industrial centre for 12 o'clock, I think training was at. And then it cost me €30 to train for a few hours. It was €30 for the week, but I could only go up on Saturdays, so I'd have to give them €30. And then I'd leave at 8 in the morning, and I'd get back at 8 at night.
What year was that?
2007, 2008, maybe. So I was young. I was still in school, but I was bouncing. I was a big guy. I was like 20 stone and shit. So I was bouncing, and that helped me pay. And then my ma, she made me give up bouncing because it was dangerous. I kicked my dad out one time. And my ma gave me the money then to because she knew I wanted to do this. Yeah. But it was cool. The scene was... There was probably a lot more wrestling shows because they used to tour at the weekends. So you could do 2 shots in a day. So you could be in fucking Carlow during the day and Kilkenny at night, and then you travel down to Waterford, and then it's like a loop, and then wrestling's over for the weekend, and then you do it next weekend, and then you do it next weekend. Now I was still training at this time, but that's the way it was working. That's the way the territories were back then.
But I believe like NLW would have been kind of very early stages at this time.
Yeah,
Fight Factory would have been about the same. There was no OTT.
Yeah, so Fight Factory is celebrating their 17-year anniversary.
Yeah.
I think it was initially NWA.
Yeah.
So you had Irish Whip Wrestling, which is where Joe Cabray was initially, and then NWA, which is where Justy was. And they told me a story where they'd be like flyering across from each other for different shows, but like fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Yeah. Which is crazy how different it is now, where all the talent is jumping from one thing. You can go anywhere you want, but you were saying that before. You literally had to choose: are you an NWA? Are you an IWW?
I remember
once you're one, you can never be the other.
You can hear it in Becky's book. Like Becky's going on about this new company IWW and fuck these guys and they have a ring. Who do they think they are? They have a ring.
Like she's the only girl wrestler in Ireland. Another one comes in, it's like, who the fuck is this person coming in?
Well, you look at IWW and like even before I was starting, they were on the wrestling channel. Vampiro wrestled in a fucking industrial estate in Baldoyle. D'Lo Brown was there. They brought over Raven. I remember meeting Eugene in Cork. I went down to a show in Cork. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Eugene.
This was usually when he was in the superhero gear. Fucking Balls Mahoney. I was smoking fags with Balls Mahoney, which was cool. He had one tooth in his head. And he was telling me about how I was like, oh man, that chair shot on Masato Tanaka at One Night Stand 2 was fucking sick. Because I was like, I've got to say cool things to Balls Mahoney. And he goes, yeah. We would have had a better match than Shawn and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21, but they cut our time. And I was like, okay, Balls. Cool. And that was a show where he has so much scar tissue on his head. It was a kids all ages show, but he had so much scar tissue on his head that when he went in for a lockup, he got busted open. And he came down, they were doing this brawl all over the Spring Hill Court Hotel, and he came down to Simon Rochford, who's the owner, was like, sorry for bleeding, and then he got back into the brawl. Like, cool.
I'm kind of interested in hearing all these stories, but is there anyone that I suppose surprised you when they came to IWW? Any of those kind of big names, that American names like you mentioned there, like Balls of Honey, Red,
Doug Basham and Big Vito were cool. You know, it was mad. So we were at Spring Hill, and there was a show down the Forum in Waterford, and Mike was driving, and he had Simon Rochford, and then there was Big Vito and Doug, and I rock up. And I'm like, hey, do you want me to carry your bags? They're like, yeah. They had just coming out of the gym. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, okay.
He respects the business, carrying bags.
And then I put them in the car and they're like, nice meeting you, kid. And I was like, oh no, I'm traveling with you. And it's this little tiny car. So Mike, Simon, Big Vito's to my right, Doug Basham is to my left, and I'm in the centre. I was 20 stone, as I said. So I'm taking up most of the fucking back seat. And the boys are highly uncomfortable. So they started going, who's your favourite wrestler? And I was like, Kurt Angle. They're like, okay. And then they gave me a pass on that one. He goes, Big Vito said, it's a nice town you have here. And I said, city. What? Kilkenny's a city. We have 2 cathedrals. He goes, you ever been to New York? No. New York's a fucking city. I was like, okay.
Doesn't matter what you've done in wrestling. If you call Kilkenny a town, you'll get called out.
Yeah, you'll get called out on it.
Even if you are like a 16-year-old trainee, you'll still call him out.
They did the show in Waterford. I remember Big Vito being in the ring, running over stuff with Ian Meehan, and me just shitting it, just been like, I know I'm a trainee, but like getting in there with Big Vito is a big fucking step, because I don't know how well I was trained at the time. I don't think I had a show at that stage. I had maybe a few gym wars. We went back to Kilkenny. I was carrying the lads' bags. Big Vito bought me a shot of baby Guinness. Went out in the town with Doug Basham, but got called into my bouncing job. And I was like, should I stay out in Off Waylands and go to Langton's with Doug Basham, or should I go bouncing in Abracadabra? And I needed the money, so I went bouncing in Abracadabra because I couldn't stay drinking with him anyway. So
He was former tag champ, 2-time tag champ, wasn't he?
yeah, with the cabinet with
Former
JBL.
Secretary of Defense, and you chose Abracadabra.
I fucking loved JBL as well, but he was a really nice guy, Doug Basham. Big Vito was initially standoffish, but it proved to be really nice. But like a lot of the IWW guys were pretty sound as well. Maybe a few standoffish, but that could have been my awkward.
Apart from Sheamus, which IWW guys went the furthest that you would have trained with?
I would have trained with. I don't know. I think it's really interesting that there's not a lot. I know it was many years ago, but there's not a lot of those guys around. I don't think any of them are wrestling now. Like Mandrake was in very good shape.
I saw Bingo Balance in Duro Scarecrow Festival 3 years ago, I think.
He's a fucking. I love it. Like Bingo Balance as a person was fucking lovely, and as a trainer was fucking amazing.
And was it IWW still that? Because I think they had the ring.
Yeah, so IWW only recently sold the ring, and it was bought by, I think, a combination of RCW and Fight Factory. And I think Fight Factory are currently using the IWW ring in their training. But that's a historic ring, like, that's mad.
Is that the ring that we trained?
No. That was the one that was
door.
next door.
Oh, yeah.
You almost had him go, oh, jeez. I was in there.
Oh, gee, Shane bumped in this ring 12 years previous?
There was a ring next door, and we were kind of making the joke. I wonder, because it was kind of half put together. Like, I wonder if we kind of stole a part in that ring every session for every week. Would they notice until one day someone goes, "Where's the ring going?"
Why is there one board on that? Where's the spring gone?
Yeah, no, they wouldn't notice any of that. It'd be like it's just fully gone, and they finally twig and
Just take off the actual ring mat, and you know, like WWE do those like ring use
Yeah,
fucking things.
yeah.
Start selling these cards on the down low. It's like, where's the mat gone?
they could have done it. Remember that time the ring in Fight Factory in the training, the rope busted and Justy just fucking
flipped out and landed on his feet.
landed on his feet,
Jesus.
and it was like, "Is he okay?"
And he was like, "Yep."
He's like, "I'm okay. I think I'm concussed, but I'm okay."
Fucking flips out and lands on his feet. It was awesome.
Just he stood there going, anyone see that? Because I will not be doing that again.
No, thank God he was like, thank God the trainer, because it could have been any of us that bounced off that rope at that particular time. Probably wouldn't have done it as hard as Justy hit the rope, though. No.
You would have hit the middle rope like Rey Mysterio.
Probably, yeah.
Justy, an absolute legend as well. Funny story about that ring that IWW recently sold. Actually, I nearly bought that ring.
So did we!
Yeah.
We were close to.
Why was I not aware of the sale?
Yeah, the only reason I actually didn't is
It's on
'cause I was
adverts,
like,
wasn't it? Or on
adverts.
somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I saw it
$3,000?
on like Facebook. Yeah, somewhere like something like that.
Needed a bit of work.
The only reason I didn't buy it is because I was like, I've nowhere to store it.
Yeah, we're the same.
We were exactly the
That's
same.
the reason we started the podcast is because we were like, let's start a wrestling promotion.
Yeah.
Be like, what culture?
Someday it'll happen.
What would you be called? The WFCW?
Shane O'Keefe's wrestling promotion.
doesn't quite have a ring to it.
No, I would do a traditionals free like lettered name because I it's cool. Like Hard Knocks is a cool name. Fucking
Phoenix.
Progress, Phoenix, they're all cool names. But I just love the like
Old school
OTT,
tree.
RCW. kind
even
of
OTT
type thing.
is a cool name. OTT,
Yeah.
OTT.
Yeah.
We'll call it WWF.
Yeah,
That'll
there
work.
we go.
That'll work.
Fuck
Wrestling fans.
Just don't make the website, you'll be alright. For yourself then, you obviously trained in IWW as well.
No, I
No,
didn't.
God,
no. Not you later?
No, I did a 10-week beginners course with Fight Factory earlier this year.
Yeah, so many years later.
Oh, whoa.
Many years
He's
later.
actually Zack Saber's senior.
Shane and I met in through theatre and
Yeah.
kind of realised we're both wrestling fans, and then joined up with Johnny Moritz, who I knew from Kilkenny from kind of theatre and stuff as well. And I would just bump into him and we'd have a few pints and be like, "Did you see what happened on Raw?" or whatever. And then I did a podcast with Morrow called Scheduled for Two Falls. And then finally Shane was like, "Here, that kind of fell away." And we're like, "Why don't we just..."
He interviewed like Raven and Ken Shamrock and
Godfather.
Godfather, yeah, some pretty cool.
and we're like,
Will Ospreay.
I interviewed Ospreay on the Monday after he won the IWGP World, or whatever they call it, championship in New Japan on the Saturday.
He was his first
That was the
interview.
first interview. And I got so...
That is my dream interview.
Tell him how you got. Tell him how you got
I think I
this.
told a story on this before, but I'll say it to you for your show. A friend of mine used to be pals with the guys who run the web conference, web summit thing, and in the early days. And they were when they were forming that, they were like, "How do we get like big names to come to this show or to our conference?" And I wouldn't realize that if you can find someone's email address online from some reason, maybe they're like in wrestling's cases, they're looking for like indie booking, but in that case, they'd have it like on all their websites from like, contact us through whatever. So they realize that if you have an iPhone and they have an iPhone and you send a text message to their email, it comes to them as a text message.
Yeah.
So I
Tell me more.
So I figured out that, well, there's a lot of wrestlers' email addresses where they're like looking for bookings, or whenever they get released, they're like, contact this, look for bookings. So I just stuck it into my phone and I just text a few wrestlers' emails, and Will Ospreay wrote back, "Hey, bruv, how'd you get my personal number?" Because for him, he didn't know that I had just emailed it instead. So I wrote back and said, "Oh, hey, just have a podcast. Sorry for interrupting you. If you'd like me to go through another avenue, that's absolutely fine." He's like, no worries, bruv. Just didn't know how anyone had this number. Email this person. And he sent me like the media guy in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I sent an email. I go, I was just texting Will there, and he just wanted to go through the official channels. So it's trying to set up this. They're like, no hassle. So set up. Then Will came back to Will, and I texted Will, goes, yeah, it's all set up there now. Just
some Paul Heyman shit.
So this was set up. This set up 7 days in advance, and me and Morrow are watching New Japan show. I think it was Dominion or something. And Will wins the world title, and we're like, we're interviewing this fucking guy on Monday, and he arrives to the podcast with the video like on Zoom or something, and he arrives and he has the belt draped on it. And it's 2 hours, and he proceeds to bury Punk, Danielson, Adam Cole. He basically challenges everyone in the world now that he's won this, and it's gold. And I think that we should be digging out clips from it because it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I'd love to see clips from that.
I'd love to see the whole interview.
That's a tangent about how I became a professional wrestler doing the Fight Factory Pro 10.
Got to speak to the
Got slightly
IWGP
distracted.
champion, and just from there,
I'd have to take notes here. I might have to sign up for the 10 weeks.
Shane convinced me. Shane said this beginner course happening with Fight Factory. Would you do it? And I said, you know what? I want to do that once in my life. So I just want to take a bump in a ring, run the ropes. So about a week before it's about to start, Shane texted me going, oh, by the way, I can't make night one, so you're on your own. And I was like, oh, man, I don't want to go on my own. So Shane's kind of encouraging all the way. He's like texting going, well, have you left yet? Well, have you got it? So eventually he gets texts off me going, I'm like, I'm in the car park. In the industrial estate. I was like, oh, I don't know.
I'm buzzing. I'm down in Cork with my missus. She's after booking a week away, and I was like, this is fucking class.
he's like, you made it. And I'm like, no, I made it to a car park. I made it to lots of car parks and not actually gone into the fucking thing.
Like, you got this, bro. Diana's like, what are you doing? I'm like, Duffy's got to wrestling training.
He was fucking living his life vicariously through me. And then so I went in and realized immediately, 20 lads exactly like me, all different weight classes, all different fitness levels. Some people had done something before, some people hadn't. Basically proceeded to, who was there? Phil Boyd. I don't know if Katie was there, but Phil was taking the session, and we basically just did rolls, and he allowed us to run the ropes, and I left afterwards absolutely buzzing, like I'd done the most amazing thing in my entire life. Text Shane, I fucking did it. I did night one. He's like, I'm going back for night two. It'll be fucking great. Drove up together the second time. Second time did some flat back bumps, front face bump, where I fucking pulled a muscle in an area that So I missed week 3 because I literally I was walking around like that.
And that's another thing about the wrestling now, and it's something that stands out with all the trainers is if you're hurt, they'll say sit out. You don't have to do this macho bullshit. You don't have a
I'm so macho. I want to do the macho bullshit things. I'm so macho.
You don't like, that's toxic shit. Like, you don't have to like have Masuda breaking your leg and then going, all right, come back in 9 months if you really want it. It was like, no, if you hurt your asshole, sit down.
Yeah. It was my asshole, by the way.
It was. This is his sphincter. He ripped his sphincter like X-Pac. He tried a Bronco Buster.
So that's my. I did 7 out of 10 weeks.
6.
I missed
He did 6.
I did 7. I stand by 7. Yeah.
6 weeks more than I did.
He's coming back, though.
I am coming back. Yeah, I got sidetracked at a few things, and this play that we had on finished last weekend. So now I have my time back, and I 100% doing. I'm 100% doing the beginner course again.
He's getting jealous now seeing me wrestle.
This fucking guy is wrestling 2 nights a week. 3 nights.
3 now. Yeah. After the play is done.
Book him, Joe.
Book him, Joe.
Book and
He's not
draw.
gonna book me. I got gear though. I got cool gear.
Oh, yeah, you're ready. You're ready.
Yeah.
Good persuade
I
him.
know. I have to learn how to wrestle now. But like training the way it is now, I think is a lot different than the way it was back then. Like stuff like blind feeds. I was like, what the fuck is this? And I was never been told about it. And they explain it to you, and it makes so much sense. But when I was wrestling, and I've done shows in IWW when I was wrestling, I didn't know this shit. Like I was just kind of just going out there and being a big guy and listening to someone like Mandrake, who was a gent. I went up against. Anyone remember Bobby George? He was the dart player in OTT. He went by Rob Cage. Me, Mick Wall, Rob Cage, and Mandrake were the 4 only wrestlers on a show down in Youghal with about 200 people called the King of Youghal Cup.
Oh, what a terrible name.
They put it well.
So
to be
what
fair to
happened
them.
was we only had 4 workers. So it was me and Rob Cage. We come out for a promo. I think then we go to the back. And we were talking, I'm going to be the King of Youghal. Then we go to the back. And then you make your entrance. So it's me and Rob Cage. And then it's Conor Hurley and Mandrake. Then me and Rob Cage. Then Conor Hurley comes out. What was it? Sorry.
Jesus.
It was Conor Hurley and Rob Cage. It was me and Mandrake. Mandrake beats me. Conor Hurley comes out and attacks Mandrake. Right? Intermission. Little tag match then for it's me and Conor Hurley against Mandrake and Rob Cage, and then brief break, and then the final of the Kinky Youghal Cup, which is Mandrake and Conor Hurley, and that was the show.
That's how you book 101.
€18 people had to pay to come and see
The
4
people
wrestlers.
sitting there going, I've seen you already.
Yeah,
Oh, Jesus, they're back again. Oh, for fuck's sake.
And not a mask between the one of them.
Could have got at least 6 more matches with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was kind of cool, but like that was during the time where I was getting to do a few shows. So I remember there was a guy. I think his name is Devin Starr, but his real name was Max Angeles.
Good
And I
name.
was like, dude, your real name is so much better than your fucking working name. And then he was with a guy, Caleb, I can't remember. And they were like a tag team coming over from England. And I was so big at the time that they were like, our finisher move is going to be a double code breaker. I was like, okay, cool, double code breaker. All it is me go down and go back up. But my belly was so big that I couldn't get down to close enough to their knee. And every time that they tried it, I kept kneeing one of them in the balls because I kept going down on my knee. So like we'd be practicing beforehand. They go for a double code breaker and I go down on one knee. Boom, one of them gets it in the balls. And he's like, no, just do this. I'm like, okay, let's go again. Boom, the other one gets it in the balls. So like, we'll just do a double super kick. Like, okay, cool. Joel Redmond, he was like the first NXT tag team champion with Neville. I remember him trying to teach me elbow drops because I just kept going with my fucking... Because I wasn't proper trained, like, Boom,
elbow to the balls.
Yeah, no. But like...
A lot of balls.
He took like a fucking good 40 minutes trying to go like, no, this is the elbow. This is the elbow drop. But he was lovely.
That's an elbow drop from your feet.
Yeah, just standing. Like I kept,
standing,
I kept fucking just hitting him with my elbow, as opposed to my tricep or in here. So yeah, he was lovely. Bobby Fish was on that fucking on the car down in Dungarvan and stuff. So it was cool. I got to travel and talk wrestling. I didn't get on with everyone. Some people were like, there was this kind of like, oh, that's my spot kind of thing. I'm like, all right, fair enough. I didn't really pay too much attention to it. So
if someone was to ask you, what's the stupidest, funniest, craziest story from a show, what's the first story that comes to mind?
Down in Youghal, the King of Youghal Cup is not just
the King of Youghal Cup again.
not just.
I think we should bring it back.
Oh no, I'll tell you, I have another one. But the King of Youghal Cup,
Just so you think you've got all the material out of the King of Youghal Cup.
there's a wedding.
right
There's a
back.
wedding going on, and we didn't have any fucking change rooms or whatever. So like, there's a wedding going on, and I think the bride is just about to walk in, and I'm like putting on my pink lightning spandex beside her. I was like, congratulations, but my very first match, and I said it on the podcast with Mike Wall, my very first match was a 6-man tag in the gym in Baldoyle. It was a Gym Wars show. We're going over the match, and I'm shitting it. I'm like, oh, fuck, this is going to be, whatever. And we go into the match, and one of the guys in the match, he goes by the name of Heinze, the working name, and he gets his nose busted open in the match. and he starts bleeding profusely. So in the middle of this 6-man, he just hops down off the apron and just goes to the jacks. All right, and I'm in this 6-man going, what the fuck? All right, so thinking on the fly, and we're all trainees as well, and there's about 50, 60 people there. So I get into the ring and I start doing his spot, and I know that he was meant to do a Vader splash and miss, and that's the end of the match. So I'm like just rushing to get to that Vader splash. So I go to the Vader splash, second row, first time on the fucking second rope even. Vader splash, miss, boom, match is over. 1, 2, 3. I get pinned. Heinze walks out with fucking tissue up his nose, and he comes to me after the show, and he was like, "Don't take my spot." What? He's like, "Don't take the Vader splash. That was my spot." I was like,
You weren't there.
"You were in the fucking toilet." Like,
The match is still going on,
what
buddy.
like, he was like, "Yeah, but like in the future, that's my spot." And I was like, "Okay." Every wrestling match that I had, I did a miss Vader splash spot.
Show him.
I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll do it. Like, I didn't know the guy. He could have been lovely, but that's what I mean by people were kind of standoffish and, worried, were protective about stuff. I remember my phone getting taken after being told I was going to be on a show in Kilkenny. And then I found out I wasn't on the card. And then I texted my man. I was like, look, you don't have to come. It was like 20 quid a ticket or whatever. And I was like, you don't have to come if you don't want it. I'm not on the show. But I remember someone took my phone. And I was like, oh shit, now they're going through my messages and stuff. And I know who it was. And I was like, you piece of fucking shit. Like, why would you do that to a young guy that's just, he loves wrestling and he's helping out. He's carrying the fucking ring. I'm trying to be positive about it. I was upset, but I wasn't bitching. I was just saying, I know you can't see me wrestle. It mightn't happen. And I had a few people there already anyway. And he took my phone. I was just like, oh, fuck you. And I got into the ring and
these guys are like in their 20s and you're
so
17.
they were older than me anyway. Yeah. But like I remember I got an RKO that night. It was like Shane's from Kilkenny. I got that, hometown guy and just to appease me. And I got an RKO then and never got like my comeuppance or anything in the main event. And I remember after the show people were like, oh, that was cool. And I got shouted at for not selling my RKO like 2 hours afterwards. And then someone, I think it was
shouted at by Orton.
I think it was Doug Basham. Or someone, no, Balls was like, you took that RKO really well. And I was like buzzing. And I remember going up to someone who was like, oh yeah, Balls is lovely. He said I took a nice RKO. And he was like, it's a fucking RKO. Like, you just flat front bump. And I was like, fuck you. Like, why are you being a dick?
Yeah.
And being in the ring, down in Waterford. Sorry, I'm living all my trauma. Down in Waterford, we were in Tremor and we were doing a show. And I had my gear. And my gear, I was told to be kind of like a Raven-esque kind of guy. So I was fucking a big guy. So, that looked all right on me. And then they were like, no, we're going to change it up. And they gave me these tights. And it was like a rib. And one of them was like a girl's top. And like I had to go out into the ring as like this big fucking dude with a girl's top. And I just felt kind of ashamed of myself. And then I get in the ring and your man starts fucking like proper forearm smashing me in the face. And I was like, oh man, what the fuck is this? And I cleaned him out of it with a clothesline. Then I was like, fuck you. That was it. But yeah, they're kind of like just weird parts of that journey. But then I went back in 2015 and it was like night and day. I got to do one Royal Rumble before I busted up my face, which is cool. But it was nice being in Fight Factory. But after I busted up my face, I was out for like 6 months. I still have the big scar there. The first fucking training session I decided to go back to is Sean Maxer's. Like he was doing a weekend thing, and he's trained in Japan.
Yep.
And man, I could not fucking handle it. I was after putting on a bit because I had gotten in good shape, bursted up my face, gotten in bad shape, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And I remember lying on that floor in Bray, looking up at the ceiling like I couldn't move. I had torn my bicep, partial tear, and I had to drive back to Kilkenny. And I didn't know my bicep was torn at the time, but I literally couldn't get up because I did a lucha roll, like went down on the top of my fucking back, and I just got out of the way, and then I lay on the floor, and I was like, "That's your dream over, bro. That's it. You're 25, you're too old for this shit. Like, that's your dream over." And then I had gone back because I've seen like everything Irish wrestling was becoming. And then after I realized that, I was like, oh, fuck. And that's why we did the OTT documentary. I wanted to be around wrestling. That's why I did some announcing for Fight Factory. I wanted to be around wrestling. And then just as I got older, I was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. So, and that's why like having Dunphy do the 10-week beginner's course was really like,
Just proud dad, like, I was there one time.
No, but just traveling up with someone and talking
Yeah.
wrestling and stuff. You know what I mean? Like if you had to drive here on your own today, you'd be like, oh, fucking go up and do a fucking podcast.
I've done it.
You've done it, yeah. Where did you do it?
I did it in Hard Knocks I went for about 2-3 weeks. And again, like that, I went with one of my mates, Mike, who still wrestles for Hard Knocks. He was even on the show there last weekend, like. But yeah, I don't know, I didn't. There's an expectation, I suppose, as a fan. Where like, I can do that. Do you know that kind of way? You're like, this looks easy. And then you go and do it and you take a bump, you're like, no, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. It was good fun. I was in with LJ as well for the 2 weeks I did it. I think I was in with Raven Creed for one of those sessions as well. But like, there's so much. Like, we all wrestle each other as a kids and whatever else. But even going for like a collar and elbow, and you realize, oh no, it's actually like you do it like this, and it's so different to how
Your feet
you
are
have it in your
wrong,
mind.
and then you're like, oh, now all I'm thinking about is my feet, and
Yeah.
then you do everything else wrong. So
Yeah.
now you're just doing the obvious basic thing completely wrong, and you're like an absolute idiot.
But I think because we're blessed in Ireland, and this isn't trying to blow up smoke up anyone's ass, but we're blessed in Ireland to have the caliber of trainers that we do. You know, like when I do the Saturday classes with Paddy Morrow, I'm just like, man, what the like this is. He explains it so simple, and it, like just little minuscule things. Like he's a genius. He's a genius when it comes to wrestling, and I think anybody that you'll ask will say the same thing. But we've got to experience Phil and Justy. I didn't do much training with Katie. But like, you know, even just the small bit of chain stuff that we did with Katie, like just teaching you different reversals. It's just, and not only are the trainers great, the people that they've trained are great. Yeah. So you're training with those. So
you're training with Martin Steers, or you're training with who else is there from OTT and
Butch.
From Butch. I
I
trained at Butch for the whole
became best buddies with
Butch. Butch. the entire
all the way
2
home.
hours.
He was like, "Oh, me and my good friend Butch."
I actually was saying that, but more in a mocking kind of joke. Butch was so lovely, and like he just got paired at me, so I'm basically just paired with Butch 2 hours, and he's just so nice. Like I was fucking up everything. He's like, no, do this, and like we're hitting each other forearm shots, and he's like, hit me harder. You're kicking him in the gut. You need to connect. You know, he's just like, it's like, okay, cool. You're happy to let this mark kick you a little bit to make it look more realistic. I was like, thank you, Butch.
That's the thing that always got me about Irish wrestling was, like, you obviously hear stories of like a Bully Ray, people meeting him and he's an absolute dickhead. There's no one in Irish wrestling that I've met anywhere so far that's a dickhead. Everyone is just genuinely down to earth. Not at all. But especially because a lot of the locker rooms are obviously the same. There's a few extra people in OTT that aren't in Five Factory and vice versa. But it just took me by surprise. Because you have guys there like Justy, Paddy Morrow, guys who've been here for 20 odd years, who could easily, if they absolutely wanted, be an absolute dickhead.
I remember being so taken back by my interaction with Sammy D at the School of Irish Wrestling's beginner course, because he was lovely.
Yeah,
and like I didn't know Sammy, like, but you know, just from the whole draw stuff. Not that I had a preconceived notion. It was just weird seeing him be so super nice.
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh, hey, do I know you from somewhere?" And I was like, "Oh, we did the OTT. That's where it is. Oh, how are you?" And all that kind of stuff. And then I said, he's like, "Did you train before?" I said, "I did." Funny enough, he was sitting beside Maxer, and I said the Maxer story about, you know, how I bust myself open in his class, and like my arm and my back was done, and like Sammy D started ripping on Maxer, and I was like, no, I didn't mean it like that. No, so he's a bad trainer, is he? And I was like, no, please don't do this to me. Not again. Not again. Oh, don't take my phone.
It's funny actually, because down below in Hard Knocks, I don't know if I should be saying this about the two boys, but like Hard Knocks is basically at the back of a pub. And after the show, the two boys always go out and have their 3 pints of Guinness. But if you see them 20-30 minutes later after they've had a couple of points and just the crack between the two of them, like, and they just let loose, it's just brilliant to see. Like, it's brilliant to see. But look, I want to go back again to the Tivoli days.
Yeah.
I got into Irish wrestling in early 2022. You got into just after that. So going back now and watching all the Tivoli days, it's like it's next level to what we're seeing at the moment. But I suppose having been with IWW, and you're now getting this kind of, I think it was one of the first times that we ever had it where it was an over 18 show.
Yeah.
How did you think that kind of changed Irish wrestling? And as a fan going into that, how did that feel?
Especially because I think mainstream wrestling wasn't catering to someone like me. Like I had friends who weren't into wrestling that were sending me on videos of this wrestling promotion up in Dublin that were like, you would love this. there's Foxy getting a bag of coke thrown in his face,
Yeah.
and the referee is now doing dives onto the outside. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I remember seeing it on Snapchat, and I was like, this is nuts. I gotta get there. First time I get there, 3 cans for a tenner. I used to love me drink. I was like, this is fucking nuts. Yeah. Then I started telling other people about it. I was like, come up. They had fucking Owen McLove getting kicked in the balls with a low blow and going, I have no willy. I was like, this is perfect for us. Bringing mates to it and 3 cans for dinner of Devil's Bait, and you'd be leaving, you're absolutely fucking shit-faced, which I loved at the time. It was so surreal. It was nuts. I remember seeing the promo for Scrapper Mania 2, and I was like, Mr. Kennedy. I was like, Mr. fucking Kennedy is coming? What? This is nuts. Fucking Pete Dunne and that whole Luther Ward stuff. I loved the Luther Ward promos. The new Ward Order. Like, they were hitting little things for me as a wrestling fan that tickled my fancy. Like, just tickle my fancy.
Wrestling globally was so different than it is now because AEW didn't exist. So you had
NXT wasn't really,
NXT was kind of, but you had this huge, you had this like indie scene that was almost just, when you combined it all together, it was almost as big as what was WWE was going on. Like, and all these lapsed fans and all these fans who just were tired of the fact that it was just PG Cena on WWE for the last 8 years. You got all these people coming to the like big names that you would see, and obviously the internet as well, like social media. So like, you know,
Cool came.
Yeah,
like I remember Too Cool from.
But even like, forget Too Cool, like the nostalgia acts. It was more like, oh, like the cool indie acts are coming to OTT as well. Like they want to be there, and then obviously it led into like Young Bucks. And
Tyler Bate fucking show. I remember not knowing who Tyler Bate was, and then seeing him in the ring. And he was doing the old, like stuff, the mustache, like little strongman thing. I was like, this is fucking. He's great. This guy is an awesome wrestler. Who was it? Jigsaw was there. He was a big
ladder match with Ryan Smile and Pete Dunne. The first one they did that Money in the Bank thing.
It's crazy stuff. Like, really cool. Matt Riddle. Him and Speedball is probably one of the best matches I've ever seen live. They just kicked the ever living shite. Mark Hoskins was there. Jonathan Gresham was there. No, not Jonathan Gresham. ACH.
The cool factor was a big thing, and it kind of felt like a secret club almost that like you were allowed to go to, but other people didn't really know about it, and then just kept growing.
I think one of my first memories of because I brought a friend up and we got there late, and I walk in and Logan Bryce has been gored through a table by Rhino. I'm like, this is amazing. And then like a few years later, Rhino's back on WWE TV winning the tag champions with your man with a lot of kids, Heath Slater. Like, you know, you're just
lot of kids.
just nuts. Like, it's
it's special.
You're not just getting lads on the back end of their career, which is always cool. You're getting lads on that are starting up their career, but also Irish lads, because you're going for them. But then you're like, I love lads from the flats and Session Mount Martina. I am going to have a rave with these lads.
And wrestling generally was so accessible. So like, even though they mightn't end up in WWE, it could be like something like Jay White, where all of a sudden he's in an OTT ring, and then 6 months later he's winning the US title or whatever his first title was in New Japan. You're like, I saw him, and I think he had something about him. Maybe I didn't say it out loud at the time, but I was definitely behind Jay White from the beginning.
Yeah, like Swerve, Keith Lee, fucking, it's
MJF at one point.
MJF, Darby Allin.
Yeah.
You know,
Dragunov. They've all come
the
true.
fucking Lucha Bros.
Walter.
It's the one thing I hate, because I had no idea, as a massive wrestling fan, this was going on in Ireland. I had no idea, because like living down in Clare, there's no advertisement for, here's a wrestling promotion up in, up in Dublin. So like when
no internet.
Well,
not down in Clare.
Not down in Clare. No, we at the
bastards
time,
won the information age off Kilkenny.
We had our own form of Twitter. We just get a bird and chuck at each other. But like at that time, I was just in this. When you're in that WWE bubble, there's nothing else outside of it, and slowly, you start to learn that there's New Japan, there's this, that, the other. Like the first time I saw OTT was the Finn documentary on the network, 24, when he was injured. First time I'd ever seen OTT. And then I remember Carmo, we've spoken about here, had gone like, lads, you have to go to an Irish wrestling show. And I was, it's indie wrestling shit. And then like we went to the school of Irish wrestling. Myself and Emmett were saying, we're gonna have a laugh at this. It's gonna be Botchamania. And the lads were fucking brilliant. Like I've seen, like you can see American indie wrestling anywhere, and it's just ridiculous, like joke. But like the English scene, the Irish scene are just something else. It's just as good as watching like the WWE and like watching AEW and stuff. Like to see the story with Sam and Barry, Sam and Joe, the rise of like people like Jay and
Katie Harvey and Session Mount Martina. That's what we had before. Like Debbie Keitel.
Yeah.
Like her winning the title at Scrapper was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's great. Like
JD going from being the import killer to the import.
Yeah.
And how all that plays out and the psychology behind that as a
Like
fan,
that-
and who you should actually be backing.
like Sean Ryan, the work that Sean Ryan did as
man.
a
the
videographer.
promo all my days.
He's in NXT
I
now,
hope
isn't
you
he?
like the indies because you're always going to be fucking. You're always going to be on them, and because you're fucking always going to be on. And I'm just like, man, this was fucking another level. The same with Gunther and like, oh,
Yeah, I remember we were out in the smoking area in the National Stadium and chatting to Sean Ryan.
Yeah.
And then Sean Ryan disappeared, and I was like, just still chilling out, and he was like, you know, that was Sean Ryan that you were just chatting to. I was like, no. I think this was after he left as well. Like,
yeah, he was working with WWE at the time.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
And, like, I
and
had-
so many questions.
I had chatted to him previously, like when we did the Tivoli documentary when we were starting out as a production company, because we had shot something for Jordan Devlin and Mark Haskins when we were just starting out, and this was once again my like, oh, I can get involved in wrestling. So I had messaged Joe. I said, Joe, I have this idea because the match with Matt Riddle and Speedball, it was the same match where Jordan came out and says to Mark Haskins, "You know why I'm here." And that really resonated with me at the time. So I came up with this kind of script that I was like, for a pre-package for Jordan, can I come up, shoot some shots of him training, and get him to record this script? Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, why not? So came up and we did that. It's on YouTube there somewhere. But like Jordan was like, yeah, I'll do the script. He had maybe made a few adjustments. I remember he had just come from like the Cork Jazz Festival, and I had this idea of the camera underneath him as he moonsaulted over. And I was like, yeah, can you do that again? And he was like, man. So I had to do 4 moonsaults after coming from the Cork Jazz Festival. Like after doing it, I was like, yeah, I didn't even use the shot.
just to make it worse.
Yeah.
But it was just my way of trying to get in. And then Sean just took whatever they were doing to a whole new level. And the documentary thing was me sitting at home going, I was watching a Vice documentary on Ultraviolet Wrestling, CZW. They were doing the Tournament to Death, drinking, as I loved to do. And I miss it so much. Every episode. And I was drinking with Matthew, our Will, and I was like, we could do something like this for OTT. And I had messaged Joe drunk, and I was like, I have a proposal for you. I'll drive up to Dublin. Now, we were working on with another person up in Dublin. I remember driving through traffic, meeting Joe. I said, this is my proposal. It's like, yeah, fuck it, come and do it. All right, cool. So we went and did it. And that was a really cool experience. And
just dawned on me the never happened potential farmyard battle.
oh, yeah, we like, that would have been class. So
that would have been my
Yeah.
chance to.
So during the pandemic, I had pitched to Joe. I was like, oh, maybe do an OTT podcast. Can I be your presenter? I will think about it. I mean, no, I didn't have. Oh, what about cinematic match? I was like, I have a production company. We'll shoot some cinematic shit. Says to Dunphy. Dunphy was like, I have a fucking farm that this will look amazing. So the farm is like a festival. It was like a fucking electric picnic thing.
Yeah, like a really miniature electric picnic festival, which would have had like an old house, barns,
Caravans for the
caravans,
wards.
like everything.
So this would have been your boneyard match.
Yeah, because this is what I stemmed from. Because
Exactly.
I fucking love the Boneyard match.
Great match.
And so we were like OTT aren't doing any like kind of cinematic stuff. So we had like the set, the stage, and you had Joe on board.
I had Joe on board. I wrote out, like, I was like, this is all the beats. So it was going to be, I think it was going to be Paddy and Session Moth against the Kings of the North. And we're going to set up the ring in the barn. And then basically Session Moth, or was it something like that?
And there was also a big bonfire at the back, which kind of would have played into Kings of the North.
Kings of the North.
Bonfires and stuff.
And basically Session Moth had invited all the OTT roster down for this big session in the barn, framed as a wrestling match. So as they're fighting around the barn, like, you get to the caravan and there's Luther Ward with the OTT tag belts because fucking Mustache Mountain
They were gone,
Mustache Mountain are never there, and like, you know, Joe's living as Luther Ward, and then like you come around another place and Session Moth is fighting, and then she meets Katie Harvey and they're like drinking at a bar, but then they get into a fight, and there's Justy shows up and he wraps someone up like a pretzel, and it all linked into each other. I remember like Angel Cruz. Have you ever seen Dexter?
Yeah.
I remember Dexter. Did you ever see the end of it where he becomes like
Spoiler.
a lumberjack?
Okay.
I was like, that was my idea for Angel Cruz. I was like, you just have him in the background chopping wood because with the axe, and then all you hear is. You don't know it.
That's where he's been.
Yeah, that's where he's been. He's been chopping wood like Dexter, the serial killer, and it just never came to fruition. Dublin went into another type of lockdown. So remember, Dublin had their own specific, and they couldn't travel down. Couldn't get all the workers either. But I was like, that would have been. I was coming up with ideas of going. We'd sponsor the event. Like we'll get someone on board to be like Domino's or something, and be like, we are going to put this event on. Get your fucking pizza ready for it.
Could have someone standing in the corner just eating pizza.
Yeah. Oh man, and now the farm is gone.
Farm's gone, yeah. All done and dusted. But that would have been, I mean, that was quite, I mean, Joe might say it wasn't close at all, but for us it felt quite
for
close.
us it felt like, we're getting signed to WWE next week.
Part of the new production team.
And then we started talking about, it was like, let's just set up our own fucking wrestling promotion. I remember messaging Joe again and just been like, can we
just like, I need to delete this fucking number that keeps
Can we rent a... No, I got his email and he says... I was like, can we rent a ring? And he's like, yeah, I'll talk to you about that. And like, our big thing was space, about where to fucking put the ring. But we wanted to put on a show.
Wrestling in space.
No, that'd be great.
Never been done.
John Martin, like Morto, is a very accomplished writer. He's had shows on RTE and stuff. Dunphy's massive theatre director has fucking got so many plaudits for his acting roles and stuff. And I have lads that have cameras. You know, that's my thing. But we all have...
Shane works in the media.
We all, like I work in radio and stuff. So
and
we
Morrow...
Morrow was living in Dubai. He wasn't factored into it at this stage.
He's got the Middle Eastern money.
Yeah. But we all have... The one thing that unites us is our love for like wrestling. And plays
and
theatrics and stuff like that, and we were legitimately considering going, let's fucking do a wrestling promotion. Let's just have a Southeast chapter, because that's, I think, something that we'd love to do. The way I was going to frame it is, if we have the production team, we just do like, we shoot it in blocks, have weekly wrestling shows, and then I'll lead up to like a big pay-per-view not pay-per-view, but a big event every 3 months. Smaller wrestling shows, get your storylines across, and then a big event or whatever.
Hence why we were also interested in that ring that you're interested in.
But then we were just like, fuck it, we'll just go train.
Cheaper.
Yeah, well,
it was something.
But I think that's pretty much our journey, or whatever the fuck you'd like to call it. I'm still wrestling. I'm trying to get him back. I got some sweet ass gear.
You will go back.
I will, yeah. I'll go back.
But like,
I just want to manage.
Yeah,
I just want to manage or do some kind of production-y stuff.
Yeah.
Just want to be around. But I also want everyone who's in the company to know I can bump. So if you ever need someone to go through a table, or if Shane needs a heater, you know.
But like Foxy, he'll referee 7 matches, but on the 8 matches it's the live thing outside.
That man is so talented.
I have no massive aspirations to like do anything amazing or whatever. I just like if you play soccer, you know, and you join the club to play soccer, you're not going to go and go in Premier League next year.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going up because I fucking love wrestling. I love being around it. I love chatting to Paddy Morrow and him telling me stories like about American Wrestling Rampage when they worked with Sid, or like listening to Justy.
Or Sid.
Yeah, or the time that I freaked out Phil Boyd.
Oh man, that's a good story.
It's the worst story of all time.
Go on,
right,
so to hear it now.
This is a recent one.
Yeah, it's very recent. Like I'm awkward around wrestling people initially. I find it awkward to kind of try, like I have a different humor, or I'm trying too hard or something like that. And sometimes with Phil, I'm trying too hard. I'm like, oh, hey.
I physically seen this during the court. Like, I've seen Shane kind of hovering around, and or he says something to Phil, and Phil like looks at him, is that fucking guy? Was that a joke or whatever? And then Shane turns and goes, oh, I did it again.
Well, I just tried to be like, hey, let's be friends.
You know how that works.
And he's a Manchester City fan. and I'm a Manchester United fan, right? So we were leaving training one day, and he was on a bike. And as I was driving past, I was like, it'll be really funny. It'll be really funny if I wind down the window and start playing Glory, Glory, Man United, right? So I'm like, yes, get the song ready. Wind down the window, driving up to this part. But it doesn't get... But if you listen to the Man United song, it has this like weird clarinet bit or something at the start where it goes... That's going on for ages. So we're driving by and I'm like... and I'm like, fucking hurry up on the song. But then I stop at a traffic light and it gets really narrow. And Phil is like, what the fuck? The Glory Man United part never comes on. And I have now bottlenecked Phil on the road and he has to get off his bike because I have trapped him by playing a clarinet. And then the light goes green and I'm after driving past the part where I shouldn't have. And the light goes green and I just drive off and I'm like, I have...
No, you kind of...
Yeah, we kind of waved.
You kind of waved as in like, yeah, I just tried to kill you on the road and I'm waving at you now while there's a clarinet music playing. Gee, why is Phil not friends with you, I wonder?
And I never went back to the school.
Could never show your face around.
Never went back to the sky. I was like, Shane O'Keefe, I had like an hour and a half drive back to Kilkenny and I was like, you are a mad dickhead. I sent you a voice note and everything.
I still have the voice note.
Yeah, I was like, that has been the worst. Sorry, Phil. I didn't mean to. I was trying to impress you.
We need to see that match somewhere. So Shane versus Phil.
Phil will go stiff.
Come out with the song as your theme song, but actually make sure the right parts are actually playing.
Yeah.
Just the clarinet.
The clarinet's the whole way down.
Yeah. I find it being awkward around because, like, you know, you respect.
Yeah.
You want to respect them, but you also want to be that kind of like.
You want to be
cool to me.
Yeah,
you know,
you want to be affable with them, you know. And CBL made a great point. You know, there's so many people passing through the doors all the time that you can't be friends with everyone. Yeah. You know, are you going to be here to stay? Then we can be friends. If you're not, well then, you know, you're going to break my heart and leave. So, like Dunphy did.
Quick shout out as well, CBL for Copper's Gold.
Signed the petition. He's a beautiful man. He left us all this lovely stuff.
All the flyers and everything.
Yeah.
He's a good man.
They're going to be on the wall now very soon. So the one thing I took away from that is Phil Boyle does not like you.
I don't know if he doesn't like me now. I don't want to cast aspersions.
And Joe Capri definitely looks at all the podcasts now when we ask the questions, going, "Oh, not another fucking podcast,
not another one,
not another,
how many
not another podcast,
how many
not another
Irish
text from Shane O'Keefe."
We were discussing this in the
two
car.
of us. There's IWE. There's Wrestle Slam, Wrestle Talk. It's either Mar Shorthall or Martin Shorthall. He is one as well. That's it.
He's from Kilkenny as well.
Is he?
Who does the wrestling biographies on YouTube that with the Northern Irish accent? Ever heard him?
No idea.
Yeah.
Will knows.
You have OSW.
Yeah.
OSW,
Yeah.
Did they go to OTT, OSW Reviews crew?
I don't think so.
No.
Are they Irish? I thought they were like an American thing.
They're Irish.
Yeah.
I was watching like the one stream where they watched Hard Knocks, and that's all I watched. Sorry if I've ever watched them.
Yeah, they're 100% Irish.
Oh, jeez, I didn't know that.
Fair play, boys.
They were huge as well. A couple of
Yeah,
years ago.
give us a shout out. On your fans,
please.
The Northern Ireland scene probably they could do with more podcasts, man. Did you see the shit that's going on up there? They have fucking Titanic. They have Complete Anarchy Wrestling with Cambo Cray, a former IWW alumni. They have loads of fucking mad stuff going on.
Yeah.
Cambo Cray's putting on fucking mad stuff. Go check out Complete Anarchy Wrestling on the Instagrams. It's fucking nuts.
At Kings of the North, is that they focused further up there? The fact they haven't been on the last couple of shows.
I don't know.
I know they were working the UK scene quite a bit recently as the Kings of the North again.
Man, they're so good.
Bonesaw and Damien Corvin, they need to have a dog collar match. The two of them need to kick the absolute ever-living fuck out of them.
I thought Corvin deserved a world title.
He'll get it.
What age is
he was unlucky at the time because Scrapper obviously got moved this year.
Yeah.
And I think if Scrapper had been at the normal time, he probably would have got the match at Belfast at least.
Belfast, yeah.
But I think with the change of everything and Be Cool, obviously.
Him and Big Damo. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Unstoppable.
I mean, you got to build it back up, but, you know, with Damo being champion now, it's more a possibility than it was before. So
yeah.
What's your predictions for... Sorry, I just took a question there.
Go.
What's your predictions for
this is your fucking podcast.
I know. It's like,
we're not used to doing this sort of thing, so we like people to
10th
take over.
anniversary. What's your predictions on the card?
I suppose going backwards for that question, we'll start on this first. The announcement of JD and Finn Balor. We were all obviously at the show. What was your reaction to that? And I suppose obviously being Irish wrestling fans for quite a while, is this one of the biggest things that we've seen in Irish wrestling?
100%.
I missed Finn the last time he came up.
So did I, yeah.
I had the ticket and I gave it away for free because I'm nice, because I was sick. I just put it up on one of those OTT going, I'm sick. I missed Ricochet. Ricochet and Ospreay, I think it was, at that OTT show. And then Finn Balor shows up. And I was absolutely devastated.
But this seems like, because they are the tag champs, they're contracted with WWE, and they're in like the biggest storylines in WWE really for the last 12 months, apart from the Bloodline. So it does feel absolutely huge. And when you're asking what the reaction was, so we were up there, was there 4 of us?
Five
of us. 3 of the boys had gone for a smoke. The video came on. Shane and I are just still sitting there. And like, I saw JD first and I was like, that's great. He's coming back for 10th anniversary. Brilliant. And he's in like Judgment Day fucking gimmick mode. Brilliant. And then when Finn walked out, just the hairs the back of my neck just absolutely goosebumps. It was amazing. I was like, cannot wait. I genuinely cannot wait. And plus, there could be more. You never know. There could be more to it as well.
100%, yeah. 100%.
I think it's cool. Like, I remember looking at old WWE stuff. Remember, you used to see like footage from a house show. You see JBL attacking Eddie Guerrero's mother, and you're like, oh, cool. Like, there is a universe outside of what's happening on our TV. Like, if there is a WWE camera there,
oh, mad.
You know what I mean? And going, this. So Finn Balor and JD McDonough returned home to Ireland at the weekend, and then Damian Priest came out and did this. You're like, oh shit.
But not even that. They have that WWE Vault channel now where they're putting up not their stuff, but where lads came from before.
CM Punk against fucking Animal.
Who's to say that they go to Joker Brady? You can't put that on the VOD, but we'll put it on our channel.
Yeah.
And that will get more views than OTT, more eyes on them. And hopefully all the right people are picked. My boys at Social Elite end up on that channel. So
yeah, well, the Social Elite is probably you'd probably think so, kind of with the
Especially with
history with
Maxer,
Maxer, and it'd be great for Matthew Bullet Smith as well. You never know, anybody could go in that, like Jay, like
see, that's where I have predictions for matches later on. You're probably looking at Jay and Sammy for the 10th year anniversary.
Like BDE, like
it's a good show.
Like I know Josh is. He's an absolute behemoth of a man, but
he's injured.
He got injured.
He is back. He should be back. But now, whether that's back in a wrestling capacity or
like, do you go for the OTT titles or do you go against another OTT tag team? You know,
the freshness could be thrown in there as well.
Freshness could. Freshness will have a great match with anybody. Jay Money will do some fun things as well leading up to it.
Could have done Sammy D and Jay, but
I'd love.
Would you definitely? Oh, I suppose they're the tag champs. You definitely tag champs. You don't split them up and put them into separate matches.
You could, but again, I don't know.
The allure is the tag champions.
Yeah, I'd love to see him go up against, and I know it won't happen. Maxted and Sterling. I think that'd be an amazing match.
Maxted is a beast of a man too. Yeah. He doesn't get his plaudits as well. Yeah, it could be 2 singles guys. That are thrown together against each other. It could be anything, but it's going to be awesome, whatever it is.
I think we just do your tournament style, and they just fight everyone on the roster over one
4
night.
People. Yeah, and then they have their masks and they go again.
The King of Y'all Cup in the National Stadium.
One thing that got me about the announcement was the fact that it was announced. Like, we've seen WWE guys show up in indie promotions before, and it's always been a surprise. Finn Balor is example in OTT. But the fact that OTT could announce this and put it up on their socials and everything like that, I think is a pretty big thing.
Yeah.
Got to sell that stadium though, right?
Yeah.
And it did.
And
it did. And how.
Brilliant. Yeah. But I assume that's why you do that, is you announce it on the night when the stadium is full already and everyone's going to get on their phones on that Friday morning whenever it was out and just buy them again.
And wait until the announcement at the next one. You're going to see it. Dum. Dunphy's coming back to training. You fucking jumped on my fucking joke! Son of a bitch! I was saying you're coming back training. I was hyping you up. Piece of shit. Fuck this. Don't you fuck it. They're my headphones.
Well, I think you can.
I forgot what
before they kill each other.
I forgot I had a question there, but I forgot what it was. Go back to your question before we finish up.
Yeah.
Any predictions for the 10th year anniversary?
Who's Damo going to fight?
That was it. Could Damo and Alexander Wolf, could they be potential opponents for?
That's not a bad shout either. Yeah.
Sanity were there recently.
Yeah.
I'd actually hate that.
They were over in Progress.
Progress Tag
Champions,
Champs.
Yeah, Progress Tag Champs against.
What else is going on that weekend? Is there another event in UK? Sometimes they cross over a bit.
I don't know about the Wolves the day before. They've announced Belfast the day after, and we've got
Eugene, Rene Dupree,
Michael Oku, Suicide.
Yeah,
that's
Mad,
weird.
you know.
Sorry,
Yeah.
it's called Mannix.
Is it Mannix?
Is that TJP now though?
That's
don't know.
what everyone's asking. Who is
know.
it? Who's going to be in the match? You know,
Could be you. Could be you, Shane. Yeah. Could be Dumpy.
It could be.
Fat suicide walking out there.
Our Judgment Day announced on the Belfast one.
No, they're only
Because-
at Dublin.
Well, then it could be one of the two in the mask.
That's a good shout, actually. Yeah,
just
that's a good
Yeah,
shout.
could be Jordan in the mask. Yeah,
Mask, yeah.
nice.
That's a good shout.
Rene Dupree and Eugene against the Judgment Day.
Jeez, could you imagine?
That'd be class. I'd watch that.
I would watch
Over
that.
Kenzo Suzuki. Fuck La Resistance.
Yeah, Kenzo Suzuki and Rene
fucking
Dupree were the greatest tag team of all time outside Deuce and Domino.
And you don't need, I suppose now that the tickets are sold, you don't need to be paying other imports really.
You don't need anybody. It's just the two of them coming out and waving, and then that's the end of the show. 10-year anniversary. Thank you for coming along.
I'm hoping they put Eugene on. I was saying to Carmo the lads, I would literally, if there was a meet and greet, let's say for Finn and Jordan, and then Eugene would be Finn, Jordan. Eugene, come here, you motherfucker!
You and Triple H at SummerSlam 04 in a steel cage match.
2 last questions before we finish up.
I thought that was last question.
No, I have 2 last ones.
Yeah, Dunphy needs to pace. He's a weak bladder.
One,
No, I'm good this time.
one is for the two of you. You're obviously training at the moment. We'll be going back to training. We'll
says.
hold you to it.
I fucking will.
If you could do one thing in wrestling, what would it be?
Pile drive Dunphy.
It's a good answer. It's a good
Give him
answer.
We can do it right now. There's a floor there or a
yeah.
table.
I will, and my one thing is sell that pile driver like a motherfucker.
No, I'd
good
love to do like a hardcore match. I think that'd be cool. I'd love to do thumbtacks. Just to try it, like.
Yeah.
But like that, but it'd have to mean something, you know.
Yeah.
Or have a tag team and have like someone turn. I always love when there's a proper tag team turn, like AMW or Gymnasties, you know. But AMW, America's Most Wanted, when you had Chris Harris and you had James Storm in TNA, I love that.
That was good.
I absolutely or Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, with Marty Jannetty going through the barbershop window. I know they never really followed that up, but like a good tag team turn is cool. This is basically me saying, anyone want to be my partner?
Dunphy?
I'm going to turn on you.
I kind of have an understanding of my physical limitations, so I think some kind of referee or announcer spot on a big Irish show.
Yeah.
Let's say like a scrapper, it'd be unreal. If I
Just
after
someone brings coke
3-4 years get on that spot and then take a bump on the show, get a pop from the crowd, and then walk into the
Yeah,
show.
like announcing it'd be a big thing that I'd love to do.
Yeah.
Like on any type of show, I'd love to try out a bit of announcing. I'd love to, and like I love the creative around wrestling.
Yeah.
Like some of the lads that I'm in with or like that I'm driving with and stuff. We're just
even writing. I'd love to write for wrestling. I think it'd be brilliant.
That'd be
that'd be
pretty
cool.
good,
Yeah.
Yeah. Last question I have, and it's for everybody.
Ah, fuck.
And I'm putting you on the spot here. Yeah. Welcome back. Putting you on the spot here. Favorite Irish wrestling match ever?
I can't say mine.
That's fair enough. We'll exclude that one. Mine
Say
is
yours.
Because it involves Jordan Devlin and someone who can't be saying.
Yeah, he was mentioned early on.
He was, but I'm still not going to say it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Mine is LJ Cleary versus Matt Cardona at the anniversary show.
A big shout out to him and Nick Nemeth as well. That was cool.
Very good match. Whoever wants to go next.
I mean, the match that can't be said.
Which one would it be? Mine is actually the one that happened in the basketball arena. I don't know what it was.
I loved it. I thought
but-
the stadium one. I thought that was with
The entrances for the stadium.
Yeah,
were
with
just-
the line of bouncers in the middle and stuff.
yeah.
That was the fucking anti-Semite behind us was during that match, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I suppose Walter Devlin maybe in the stadium.
Yeah.
Same thing when the lads are coming down. It felt like the accumulation of a big story. So one of those two, and then possibly what we just saw at Scrapper.
The
I'm going to
best
put you on the spot here. Give me one IWW and then your overall.
one IW. See, a lot of the IWW matches were quite similar in the ones that I went to. So like they'd have the same matches over and over and over again. So I don't know. My favorite match that I participated in was against Mandrake in the King of Yellow Cup.
I was going to say, give me one match from that cup. That was the best of the night.
The best match that I've ever seen
The
live.
same match over and over.
I only wrestled Mandrake once, and he was fucking lovely. He was sound after.
Seen it?
I don't know. I'll shoot him an email. The best match that I've ever seen live, though, happened in an Irish wrestling company, but didn't have Irish wrestlers in it, was Speedball and Matt Riddle.
Yeah.
That was just phenomenal.
Riddle Ospreay as well was fucking unbelievable.
Yeah. But in terms of feelings, like, you see, once again, I was drinking, but Gunter and Jordan Devlin, like, did something inside me that made me want to run down. So, you know, and the stadium show, like, as a whole, that's the best I felt watching wrestling.
Yeah.
It was just phenomenal.
I'm going to give one to make up for one, because obviously I can't say mine. It's actually one that happened, what was it, last weekend or something? LJ Martin Steers, Hard Knocks, was absolutely brilliant.
Martin Steers is a fucking animal. Like, we know about LJ, and it's so great that so many people are knowing about Martin.
The one thing I love of that match is they kind of did like a Hogan Rock. Like, LJ was the big babyface champion, and Steers was babyface as well. But like, everyone was cheering for Steers, so LJ just switched. Right, I'm the heel, and switched.
Fight Factory did an 8-man, so it was 4 teams for their tag titles. So it was an 8. Is that what you call it? 8-man? Would it be an 8-man?
8-man. There's 4 different teams.
4 teams.
Yeah. So I think that's not a 4-way tag match.
A fatal 4-way tag
match.
match, 3 stages of hell. And it was fucking
that to
epic.
yourself.
It was fucking epic. There was these guys from the Netherlands. I think Justy had a tag team partner. There was the More Than Hype guys, Darren and Nathan, and then there was another tag team in there. And it was just so, you'd have the first stage, someone gets knocked out, they're gone. Then you have a triple threat tag team, and then someone else gets knocked out, and then you just had the 2 tag teams against each other in a tornado tag. And man, it was fucking amazing. I remember sitting down at the back because OTT had a match the next night, and there was like Lego and shit involved, and lads just burst. I remember looking at Ango McAnally, who was at it, and OTT had the show the next night, and I remember him kind of being like, these guys have to wrestle the next night. But that was amazing as well. So big shout out to the More Than Hype guys. They were, and Liam Royal, like, we've had so many great, I'd love to chat to Liam Royal. We've had so many great wrestlers that are not in the industry anymore. So
yeah, I have one last question. One more. This is it. We're done.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of people.
This.
No, because the recording is nearly, we're going to get cut off anyway. So.
Okay, last one, really quick. We've seen a lot of people go off to bigger and better things outside of Irish wrestling. Give me one person that you think is going to go off next. I'll go Renzo Rose.
Yeah, Renzo is a good shout. Josh is a great shout.
said Renzo as well, didn't he?
Yeah. Josh is a good shout. I love Boots. Boots is a great shout.
I think Josh and Limo have the look.
Good shout as well.
Have the look.
You had said you would like.
I feel like Josh looks like The Rock kind of, and Limo looks like Cena in their own ways. They're like the Irish version. I think they both have the personality, the skills, and the looks.
Someone like Noah Walker is great. Like, he is an amazing look too. Nobody else looks like him. It's just someone like that. Honestly, I can't. I'm not trying to skirt around.
He's one of the boys now, so it's hard for him to pick one.
He can't be putting anyone.
Dunphy's the next one. Dunphy is the next Harvey Whippleman.
Oh, I'd love that. Yeah, 100%.
Take us on, Martin.
Well, thanks. Where can everybody follow you guys? What's all your socials?
WFW show. It's a shit show of a name, but that's what we are. We're the Wrestling Fan Wrestling Show. You can get us on YouTube. We're going
to
in stereo.
We have documentaries up there. There's only one Bray Wyatt. That's what you're going to write one, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm going to go actually after this podcast and finish off my JBL documentary. That's nearly an hour long. We have a few older kind of bizarre stories in wrestling and weekly podcasts that gets released.
Perfect. As always, follow us, FiveMarks Pod, X, and TikTok, FiveMarks Podcast. Everywhere else, that's where you get to shine.
Guys, thanks for having us. Pleasure as always to talk with us.
It's great to be here.
We'll do it again sometime.
Yeah.
But for another week, we are officially ding, done.
Oh, I like that.